This conference will now be recorded.
Cracking the code to clinical trial enrollment, how to start and who can help. Please see below for a table of contents, which detail each of the regulatory requirements as set by the National Institute of Health and the National Cancer Institute. The American College of Surgeons Clinical Research Program received feedback that surgeon participation in clinical trials is challenging due to administrative barriers. The ACS-CRP held an all-day open house style session during ACS Clinical Congress 2019 to help surgeons overcome these barriers. ACS-CRP staff provided in-person support and guidance for investigators interested in enrolling in clinical trials. Information and resources on the following trainings and requirements was available during the session: Cancer Therapy Evaluation Program Identity and Access Management, NCI Registrations and Credential Repository, Enhanced Training Requirements including Good Clinical Practice, Regulatory Requirements including the NCI Biosketch, Financial Disclosure Form, and Agent Shipment Form. In order to begin enrolling patients in clinical trials, the NIH requires the documents below. These requirements include a personal statement of your biosketch, a current CV with your position, including the start date of your current position, medical board information, including effective date and expiration date, your date of birth for your research CV and the electronic form 1572, and required research training. In order to begin, please first determine your registration type. We then ask that you work to understand the registration process and the information required from you. This process will begin by obtaining your CTEP Identity Access Management account and you accessing the RCR system. You will then gain knowledge about the RCR system layout and common features, and then you'll be ready to begin. In order to access the RCR, please visit ctepcore.nci.nih.gov/RCR. There are 5 different registration types: investigator, non-physician investigator, associate plus, associate, and associate basic. All registration types are required to have a CTEP Identity and Access Management account. Here is a list of the documentation required for investigators and non-physician investigators. These include the FDA Form 1572, the Financial Disclosure Form, the NCI Biosketch, which asks questions about your education, training, employment, certification, and licenses, HSP and GCP training, Agent Shipment Form, which is only applicable to investigators, and your CV. In order to obtain your CTEP IM account, please follow the instructions below. If you need to edit an existing CTEP IAM account, please follow the instructions below. If you need to complete your FDA Form 1572 or your NCI Biosketch, please complete instructions below. If you need to add practice sites to your 1572, please follow the detailed instructions on this slide and the next slide. If you need to add labs to your 1572, please follow the instructions below. Note that this subsection must include at least 1 practice lab, but all labs that support NCI-sponsored clinical trials on which you participate must also be entered. The list of labs from which you select is extensive. It may be beneficial to ask study personnel or the lab's point of contact to obtain the lab's provider number, CLIA, or CAP identification number prior to and for use when conducting a search for labs. If you need to add IRBs to your 1572, please follow the instructions below. This subsection must include at least 1 IRB, but all IRBs that support NCI-sponsored clinical trials on which you participate must also be entered. The IRBs available for selection are those associated to your practice sites and may be either a local IRB or a NCI central IRB. Each CIRB consists of 4 separate IRBs, which will populate as a package in the IRB subsection upon selection. In addition, if one of the 4 IRBs are deleted from the IRB subsection, then the remaining 3 IRBs will also be deleted. A surgeon's NCI Biosketch is the representation to the NCI and the FDA. The registering individual will populate their NCI Biosketch with their education, professional training and employment, their professional license and certifications, board certifications, good clinical practice training, including a scanned copy of the certificates, along with an electronic signature and date. The attachment of a CV is optional, however, completion of the NCI Biosketch is required to ensure standardized collection. The Cancer Therapy Evaluation Program recognizes the diverse experience of investigators and has created a not applicable selection for those NCI Biosketch sections that may not apply to the requester. If this selection is used inappropriately, the NCI will have no information to evaluate the qualifications of the requester and will either return the Biosketch to the requester or outright deny the registration request. Thus, please ensure the requester completes the NCI Biosketch as fully as possible. Please be advised that human subjects protection is no longer required for NCI registration. As of February 14, 2019, the human subjects protection training is no longer collected. If you have successfully submitted registration packets prior to that date, you will need to delete your HSP information the next time you update your profile. You will still be able to access HSP certificates from your NCI profile history. Please note you are required to complete good clinical practice training every 3 years. This is for all investigators and non-physician investigators. The training provider, course title, completion date, expiration date, and the provider's training certificate must be uploaded in the NCI required training subsection of the NCI Biosketch. The GCP expiration date can be set by the course provider or 3 years from course completion date, whichever occurs first. The NCI recommends the Transcelerate GCP Mutual Recognition Program for GCP training. Any training from this website is considered acceptable by NCI standards. In addition, you can also use the links on your screen for other avenues to obtain your good clinical practice training. Please be advised that the following city trainings are unacceptable for your good clinical practice training obligation. Responsible conduct of research, Health Canada Division 5, drugs for clinical trials involving human subjects, data security and HIPAA training, conflict of interest, health information privacy and security. For more information, please refer to the policy on good clinical practice training for all NIH awardees involved in NIH-funded clinical trials via the link below. Please follow these instructions if you need to complete your financial disclosure form. If you need to complete an agent shipment form, you will need to request agents from CTEP. All eligible persons under the investigator registration type must identify a practice site to serve as their shipment location for all drug orders. Along with the location and address, a responsible person, preferably a pharmacist, and their contact information must also be identified at the site to serve as the shipping designee to oversee receipt and proper handling of the agent. One or more designees must be selected as well to accurately order the drug through the online agent order processing system. Please note that the agent shipment form is only available to investigators and is only required for those investigators requesting shipment of investigational agents from the Pharmaceutical Management Branch. The RCR system will first display the list of primary shipping designees associated with any of the practice sites entered on your 1572 form. You will then select a site as the primary shipping designee, which will automatically insert all the details necessary to complete the shipment summary. The RCR system provides the option to modify the components if needed, but the agent shipment form is essentially finished with just a couple of clicks of your mouse. Please see guidance on this slide. In addition, we encourage you to review the currently open and active NCI clinical trials listed on your screen. NCI-supported clinical trials are those sponsored or otherwise financially supported by the NCI. Follow the link on your screen to access a customizable search of all active NCI-supported clinical trials. Some of the currently open clinical treatment trials that the NCI supports include NCI COG Pediatric Match, NCI Match Trial, Molecular Analysis for Therapy Choice, the Alchemist Lung Cancer Trial, Lung Map Master Protocol for Lung Cancer, the Alto breast cancer trial, and the TAILOR-X breast cancer trial. We also encourage you to explore some of the open testing and screening clinical trials supported by the NCI. These include TISMIST, Tomosynthesis Mammographic Imaging Screening Trial, the National Lung Screening Trial, Prostate, Lung, Colorectal, and Ovarian Cancer Screening Trial, and the NCI MATCH Trial, Molecular Analysis for Therapy Choice. In addition, we encourage you to peruse the following open clinical trials via the Alliance for Clinical Trials in Oncology. These are surgical clinical trials, including A221505, A011106, Alliance Foundation Trial 25, and Alliance A021502. You can also explore these open clinical trials via NRG Oncology and SWOG. These include NRG BR005, NRG 9353, and SWOG S1316. Finally, for additional resources for RCR assistance, please visit the CTEP Identity and Access Management page, the CTEP Registration and Credential Repository page, the CTEP Registration Help Desk, or you can contact the ACS Clinical Research Program, all via the contacts on your screen. Thank you.